Well, I think one of the things that we need to deal with is the fact that with the Pope coming to the United States and his disdain for the global system, how do you see that playing in, Ross? Because basically, on one hand, we've got China becoming the powerhouse of Southeast Asia, and the day they announce their true gold holdings, everything changes forever. Meanwhile, you've got the systematic destruction of U.S. dollar as detailed, the Kyle Bass, by one of the, economists / mouthpieces in the press and announcing they're going to destroy the dollar. Meanwhile, we have the Pope accepting Morales' hammer and sickle crucifix, and I think that it's interesting because most people don't understand what that really means. That means the triumph of communism over Christianity. The papal mouthpieces said they had, now I want to make something clear, this is not Catholic bashing, this is the image bashing that is going on to basically pit traditional Catholics against the, I would say this, the replacement theology Catholics who are believing that social justice is the highest calling versus personal salvation and conversion to Jesus Christ. Now, saying that, this is what my question to you is, Ross. The bottom line is all wars are bankers' wars. Jesus said the love of money is the root of all evil. The control of money is the control of all evil. From the Bolshevik Revolution and Wall Street's financing of Trotsky, from the financing of terrorism, all terrorism is financial, i.e. how does ISIS go from a small group to a billion-dollar organization in less than 1 year? Well, they get by with a little help from their friends. How does it happen that we've got now the Pope coming to America and the cry for a one-world government, a one-world religion, and a one-world economy? Because I think this is what the crisis point is. Here's what people have got to understand. The system will no longer support them. The plans of early retirement, the plans of a guaranteed income, all that's going down the drain on an out-of-control train. That's what I was going for. So please, explain to the people what it is, the bigger picture, and why it is so much a necessity to get in control of their own hands what they've worked for. I mean, we're talking about lives being wiped out in cyber attack. We're talking about every database in the world, from federal databases to tax databases to you name it. If you're in a database, your records are known and on the open market. So saying all that, it's the perfect storm for the globalists to come in and set up a worldwide control mechanism, is it not?
Well, right. I mean, order out of chaos, and that's their slogan. So that if you create enough chaos in the financial markets and the geopolitical markets or realms, and then also in people's personal lives, people will give their freedom away for security. And so, if you look at the Chinese model today for economics, it's centrally controlled by the government, but they do have a lot of free market things involved. That's raised a middle class and raised some really wealthy people. But again, it's becoming everything is an oligarchy. On the 4th of July, I actually celebrated Happy Oligarchy Day because that's where we're turning to. So at the end of the day, you're going to get a centrally controlled socialist mechanism that with the power is going to be controlled by a very small cadre of people who think they're smarter than everybody else, and you are simply a serf, and you're going to get back to an oligarchical style of world leadership. And so everything will be planned for you. And so when the Pope in his speeches and what his belief in, he's definitely a Marxist. He's made no bones about that when he was in Argentina, and so there's no issue with that. So he's actually into this social justice and redistribution of wealth, and take it or leave it. That's where we're headed. And so you have a lot of folks that are whether it's Catholics or Muslims, they're all sort of leading in that direction. So you as an individual need to protect yourself. And again, if all wars are caused by bankers and money, you need to find a way to beat the system. That's where we're going. So you're going to take personal control of your assets, put it into something that's tangible. And I talked to several people today that are just focusing on the basics of water, food, family, shelter, God, all those things. There's, your fight like a stool, really. And so everybody listening to this broadcast needs to recognize that they're on their own. I would recommend people work out what that's called a mutual assistance groups, things that you have like-minded folks that will take care of each other, families that work with their neighbors, and find people that you can get along with and you can work with to help each other, because no person can stand alone. You can't be alone. One man is not an island. So you have to be with others and fellow believers and pull together and forget about the race baiting and all of the things that are trying to divide us, and focus on the one thing that brings us together is your faith and your principles. So that's where we're headed. And to your point, Steve, they're dividing us and they're moving us in a direction that I don't think we all think we're going to be there, but we're going to wake up one morning and there we are. Did that answer your question?
Yep, it does. But I think one of the things that's easier said than done is that we are at the point that I think is critical to see this, that when you generate the confusion, when you generate the problem, whether the Hegelian dialectic ever was truly understood by the United States, I truly doubt it. But the point is, the problems of the world are being generated. Therefore, the solutions of the world will be the ones provided by the Illuminati and the elitists. And so, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't understand modern Christendom and the faith of the fathers and the entire situation that God has been working on and working through in our lives to bring us to this point is basically under attack. I don't know if you saw it, Ross. This is all economic. You know, I think it was R.E. McMaster that said all warfare is economic. And the thing is that it's critical for people to understand that we are now in a time unlike any other in history. And I'll say this, Jesus laid it out very simply what the time would be like. So now what am I making these statements for? First and foremost, I'm making the statement that we are in a global meltdown that's orchestrated. I think the quote was, James, I want to read this to everybody. Now, this is said in 1950, so let's just put it into perspective. 65 years ago, Warburg, confidently, I'm reading this, declared to the United States Senate, "We shall have world government, whether or not we like it. The only question is whether world government will be achieved by conquest or consent." Well, let me share this with you. They're not making an either or. They're making it a both statement. First of all, conquest is underway. All wars are financial. The bankers obviously make a lot of money backing both sides of the equation. So now let's get into the EU and the Greek issue, okay? Because some can say it's all Greek to me, but that no longer holds validity, as it's all in the cards for Europe, Western Europe to fall. It is in the cards, so to speak, and literally somebody said, "Are you talking about the Illuminati deck cards?" Well, hey, that applies now more than ever. But no, I'm talking about the saying that we are now up against, I would say, external, internal, and I'll use the word supernatural forces that are all coming together in a nexus to bring about the New World Order, which basically means down with everything. That means national identity, national currency. It means specifically the religion of Christianity. There's nothing more the Illuminati, the globalist, elitist hate is more than Jesus Christ. Jesus absolutely established the individual's identity for the glory of God, and also granted each man and woman and those who would call upon his name the opportunity to basically escape the present world that literally is ruled by lust. Again, the love of money. But let's talk now. I want you to address Greece and the ECB coup and all of the bad blood, the bad terms, and how this is going to play out.
Sure, and that's a great depiction of what we have going for us in the future, is that you have misdirection and you think that you have your vote counts and you have a referendum, and the Greeks had a referendum thinking, well, and their prime minister basically said, if you vote no, we're going to get better terms. So they voted no, and there's huge celebration in the streets of Athens and around all of the various islands of Greece. And suddenly, when they voted no, now they go back to the bankers in Germany and the ECB, and now they have a terrible deal. They had him over the barrel. I mean, they were about to draw and quarter their leader, and he took a worse deal than what they had that they voted no against, or no for. So now you see, you vote no, you think you're controlling your destiny, and lo and behold, you wake up the next day, and or a week later, and here you are, you've got a worse situation where the ECB and the government controls 25% of the economy. Folks can't get into the banks are closed, the folks can't get in to get their money, but they can't get to their safe deposit boxes, where many people have their gold and silver stored, which is a bad idea always, and most banks won't let you do it anymore, but you don't want to do that anyway because you still can't get to it. And so there was a major coup. So it was almost like it was both sides were owned by the same people. So that there was a self-fulfilling prophecy. No, we don't want this, and the government pushed it, and then suddenly that no vote got them a worse situation where there's austerity and capital controls and all the stuff that's going to be hammering them for years and years to come. And so that needs to be a lesson for all of us, that you recognize that the bankers have played both sides of it, or the major money players play both sides of the equation. Just like, and many people may not like this, what I'm going to say here, but just like Democrats and Republicans, and you're looking at the people that you voted into power to change some of the stuff or change some of the leftist ideals that are getting pushed through, and then you have your leadership in both the Senate and the House capitulate to the president, and you wait a minute, I didn't vote for that. So that's the same kind of thing the Greeks got. I didn't want that. I wanted something better, but you're not. It's controlled by one central power, and so that's what's happening. So there's an old saying. I have a good friend of mine who's Greek, and he was telling me, we were talking about this, I don't know, last week when it was all in the throes of it, and he said the big saying in Greece is only cooks and the stupid work. So they have a mindset in Greece where working is not the preferred method of living. So you have a lot of people on the dole. So at that point, they ran out of money, other people's money to spend. So that's where they had to go. And there's 60 euros a day was the limit, and the cost of living there is not cheap. So that doesn't go very far. So when you can't get to your cash, you can't get your metals, you only have a limited amount of resources that you can get to, you're going to start thinking, okay, well, I'll just take the deal that comes to me. I'd rather not starve to death. I'll just take the deal. We'll get past it, and the deal gets extended, and another deal happens, and another deal happens. So the one thing the shoe that hasn't dropped yet in Greece is the haircut piece of this whole equation. So it's not going to happen today, and it may not happen tomorrow, but in the next 60 days, you can be guaranteed that the folks that are in Greece are going to wake up and find out, they just took a 20 to 30% haircut on their deposits to pay the bills of the government or to reach the terms of the ECB. And just like they did in Cyprus, and then they did that also in Iceland. So the folks are getting haircuts, and who's to say that we can't do that? Even people's money in money market accounts here in the United States, that par value of your money market account, the dollar for dollar, which you think is legitimate and it doesn't change, is not guaranteed. You could wake up tomorrow and have 80 cents on the dollar and say, oh well, too bad, so sad. So folks need to recognize that if it's money, if you have your money in a brokerage account and you're in a money market thinking I'm all in cash, I'm okay, you're not okay. They could still give you a haircut really quickly, and there's nothing you can do about it because you signed the contract. It's not guaranteed. All money is at risk in a brokerage account. So the folks in Greece learned the trick, that the misdirection that they felt, but because of the hubris of the government thinking I'm going to make a bigger deal, a better deal, when in fact both parties are working on the same team for all practical purposes, and you got great drama and great showbiz, but at the end of the day, it's the people that got hosed, and we're not that far behind them. So Greece is a great analogy for what we're going to be doing in the future. Is that so? That, Steve, is where the tangible assets are important for your listeners.